Hello, Rich Tabor for RPM News Weekly here at the New England International Auto Show in Boston, Massachusetts. And I'm talking with Rich Doucette. He's the founding chair of the Boston Cup Classic Car Show. How's it going today?
Great, thank you.
Everything's all set up here. The booth looks great.
I got my cars. Now the only thing I have to worry about is how many people are showing up, answer questions, and then get out of here after 6 o'clock Monday night.
Okay. In between, then you're going to be talking a lot about these cars here.
Yes.
So, how did you get kind of started with this kind of interest?
When I was a little kid, and I don't know if they do this anymore, I used to make plastic car models.
I did a lot of those myself.
Yeah. So I was born in 1951. So all the cars of the 50s and 60s, I made models of them. And then my first car I inherited from my dad, which was a 1959 Chevy Impala. And so that's it, when the cars had big fins and they were boats and they took up a lot of room. And then in the early 70s, my boss had a BMW 3.0 CS, and I went from American to German and never looked back.
So when you get cars like, that 59 Impala, you keep track of the differences from year to year? Do you have that all in your head?
Oh, I mean, when we were kids, and you could have done the same thing, we could tell you every car that was going down the road.
That's true.
You knew the difference between a 55, 56, and 57 Chevrolet by the lights in the back or the fins or whatever they were. It wasn't that hard. There were 4 major manufacturers in America.
Oh, that's the reason why I can't remember all of these things now.
Well, what they've become is they've all become vanilla. So if you look over there and look at that Aston Martin, that grille, Ford took that grille. That's a grille for a Ford Focus. So there's nobody doing anything that's particularly original now, unfortunately, in my opinion. But if you look behind me, I have an unmistakable Mustang behind me. And whether you can guess the year or not, it's academic. But they're still making them, and they started making them in the late 1964, early 1965.
Yeah, I think they might have cornered the market on the word iconic, with that particular 65 Mustang convertible you got there.
Yeah.
But, it must take quite a bit of effort to curate a show like this, to bring these cars into this New England International Auto Show.
Well, I would say that I approached about 100 friends and 5 were available because the cars are either put away for the season in storage, and once they're away, they don't want to take them out, or they're nervous about the weather because it looks like we're going to get a snowstorm this weekend. But most of these cars came in on an enclosed trailer, so the weather's not going to affect us. The only one that's going to drive out of here is going to be this Mustang, which I'm going to drive Monday night.
Well, are any of these cars considered, pardon the word, trendy at this point? Or is there a particular classic car that you could say has become extremely popular, collectible, more than others?
The Cobra over there, there was a time where they didn't cost a lot of money, and now that car is worth $1 million. So if anybody was fortunate enough to buy one originally and kept it in the family, I think all people can afford now is a Factory 5 replica, which actually probably drives better than that car.
I've driven one of them. It's a little bit of a tight squeeze. It was the Shelby when they were doing the Shelbys before they had to kind of change their game plan a little bit with that.
But you'll see nothing like this car behind me. I mean, the Superbird is a boat. It's a land yacht. And, it was meant basically to race. That car became a street car, but its real forte was on the racetrack.
Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about you're the founder of Boston Cup. Can you tell me a little bit about the Boston Cup? What's planned for this year? When's it happening, or any of those? Is that all put together?
The tentative date is September 22nd, although we're exploring September 15th as well. One of the things we try to do is have fewer conflicting events in the city of Boston, and I've been told by Boston Parks and Recreation that September is their busiest month for events, whether they be charity walks or bicycle races or whatever. So we've always been in the middle to the latter part of September, so we'll still be in the middle of the latter part of September in 2019. It's just a question whether it will be the 15th or the 22nd.
Well, how did that get started? And it takes place on Boston Common. How many cars usually might you see?
We have 100 cars by invitation only, and we don't have any repeats. So if you brought your Mustang this coming year, you're not eligible to bring it back for another 5 years. So we have a lot of people who only have one car, but we also have people that have hundreds of cars. So what we try to do is curate, like you would if you were doing an art show at the Museum of Fine Arts, and try to come up with something different for everybody, just like we've done here. We don't want to have two of the same color, two of the same model. So we've had Tuckers, we've had McLaren F1s, we've had a Ferrari GTO. We're trying for something different all the time. I don't think we've had an Edsel. I'd like to get an Edsel this coming season. And by the way, it's more than just me. It takes a community. If you go to our website, thebostoncup.com, and look at the About section, and you look at me and all the other people that are there, it takes a village, and without them, I could never do this.
Well, that's very good that you would be pointing to all the folks that managed to help put these things together. Most events, that's really the case, but I'm sure they're proud to have a great front person like yourself for this. I did want to ask you this one question, though. If you're around still doing this in 40 years,
I won't be.
Well, let's say you are, okay?
Right. Yeah.
Of the cars that are here in today's market, all the cars surrounding us, is there one in particular that you think might make it to this particular muscle car presentation?
I mean, we almost had a McLaren here, which isn't American muscle, but it is muscle. And at the show here, there's a whole bunch of McLarens now. And I think McLaren, because of their race heritage, I think if McLaren's still in business in 20, 30 years, the ones that are available for sale will now be considered classics. Because an antique in Massachusetts is any car that's 25 years or older. So if I was going to take a stab at one, I would say it would be McLaren.
Okay, well, that sounds like a good stab. Well, I'm glad that we had a few minutes to talk about this. I'm sure there'll be a lot of exciting moments during the week. What's your take on the show at large?
I think it's a great show. I mean, I came to this show before it was in this venue as a kid. And whether we were in the market for cars or not, I always like to see what's available. I'm told that upwards of 100,000 people will be here, weather permitting. I'm sure it'll be empty during the Patriots game, but I think that's later in the evening. But I have friends that are showing up here at 4:30. The show opens at 4 o'clock today. I'm looking forward to seeing people. So anybody that wants to come by, take a look at these cars and have a great time.
Well, I'm sure having a great time right now, and it's a pleasure talking with you, Rich. Rich Tabor for RPM News, here with Rich Doucette from Boston Cup.